If you are anything like me, you are tired of the BS and the nonsense and the chaos that these men are putting us through. It is exhausting at a certain point. Am I right? Am I right, ladies? Listen, here's the thing. I think that sometimes most of us need to go through that little F-boy phase to like get it all out of our systems, to realize that we were meant for so much more and that our husbands are on the other side of those F-boys that actually want to treat us with love and respect. Imagine that. We're talking all about F-boys, how to spot them, what it is, and how to avoid them. Welcome back to another episode of Way Too Wifey. I am your host, respectfully Gabby, and in this podcast we talk all things dating and relationships in this modern day. And if you are new here, hi, I'm Gabby. I'm an online dating coach where I help you transform your confidence to live your best lives inside and outside of relationships. You guys, it all starts from within. If you're feeling a little bit chaos, if you are attracting all the F-boys, there's probably some things internally that we need to look at and focus on in order to be an F-boy repellent, okay? If you are curious about coaching at all, hit the stand link in my bio or the episode description. Check out the links. I have a couple different options you can go through. If you book a discovery call with me, I will walk you through an 8-week transformation program where we completely transform you from the inside out. Hit the stand link in my bio if you're curious. We book a call with me and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But before we get started, if you could leave some love. Again, whatever you put out there is always going to come back in tenfold. So if you leave that thumbs up, leave that 5-star rating, this is the only way that it's helping me grow. So please leave that rating, hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss another episode. We'll hop into the episode. Guys, I have a little story time for you. I've been a little ballsy, been a little cheeky lately. I actually had a client recently who, I think she listens to my podcast. So if you're listening, what's up? She was telling me really likes her best guy friend and they hang out a lot and wants to see the potential there. She was like, I don't know how to shoot my shot on him or if I should make a move on him. And I'm like, listen, we only have one life to live. Go for it. Would you rather see that person with another girl and then you have to live with regret that you didn't say something and you didn't speak up for what you wanted? I had this epiphany as I was saying this because I've had a crush on my neighbor and I'm like, I really want to shoot my shot because I think he's really attractive. I think the vibes are there. I'm also like, I don't want to shit where I eat kind of thing. But last night I was feeling a little ballsy. I had took myself out to eat. As I was walking home, I'm like, looking at everyone else at a pub and I'm like, I want to go outside. I want to be out in the streets. It's a beautiful day. I have the day off from work. Just message a friend. Hey, you want to meet me at pub number 1, we'll call it. I'm about to meet up with my guy friend. I leave my house and as I'm walking out, I see my neighbor walking out at the same time and I'm like, fuck, okay. Of course, it's when I'm meeting up with a guy. We get in the elevator. I'm like, I haven't seen you in a while, whatever, just making little chit chats. And then I was like, oh, like, where are you heading? And he's like, I'm actually heading to meet some mates at a pub. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. Like, that's cool. I'm actually going to meet a friend at a pub too. But in my head, I'm freaking out internally because like I find this guy attractive and I don't want him to think that I'm actually on a date if he were to see me out. He's like, which pub are you going to? And I was like, it's a pub on the river. He's like, oh, okay. Do you know which one? I'm like, I didn't want to tell him. Okay. Because I don't want him to show up with his friends at this pub thinking that I'm out with like girlfriends. So I'm like, I don't know. And then I asked him, I was like, well, I try to switch the conversation around. I'm like, well, where are you going? And then he's like, oh, I'm going to pub number 1. And I'm like, oh, fucking-tastic. I text my friend immediately. I'm like, listen, we have to go somewhere else. And he's like, no worries. Meet you there. See you in a bit. I'm walking. I called immediately my best friend on the phone. I'm like, listen, this is the situation. What the fuck do I do? I am walking. I try to zigzag in random streets so I can avoid walking to the same place that he just said that he was going to make it seem like maybe I'm lost or like, I don't know. I told him that wasn't the place that I was going, and then to show up at that place, it kind of seems like I'm stalking him a little bit. So I was like, I gotta play this smooth. So I walk over to the other pub number 2, to meet my friend. As I'm walking, I come to a stoplight. and I'm standing there waiting for the crosswalk to go. And I look behind me, and he's standing behind me with a girl. And I'm like, fuck, I lost my chance. Like, that was it. Damn it. He has a girlfriend. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't think they're boyfriend, girlfriend. I just feel like this is just a date. It's not giving boyfriend, girlfriend vibes. This is definitely a date. And then I looked at him. We both smiled at each other, and then I kept it moving. I didn't see what direction he went because I basically like ran off. So I went to pub number 2 trying to meet my friend. It took a little detour to get there to make it not seem so obvious. But as I was getting to pub number 2, he's walking outside with this girl, and I'm like, fuck, you said you were going to pub number 1. Stick to the plan, neighbor. I text my friend. I'm like, back to square one. We're going to the original pub number 1. And he's like, are you sure? I know you're trying to avoid someone. Are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, please. Like, let's meet pub number 1, original plan. That's the place I wanted to go originally. So we go to pub number 1. Everything's fine. We're drinking some wine outside. It's a vibe. And then I'm like, it's a little chilly. Do you mind if we go inside? And he's like, yeah, no worries. We get inside. My neighbor and his date are sitting in the pub that's like a block or 2 away from the other pub. I'm like, there's so many pubs in this neighborhood. Why did you choose this one? You said you were going somewhere else, and now you're saying you're going here. I'm confused. Why are you here? Immediately it was like, all right, well, here we are, right? We're both acknowledging that it looks like I'm on a date. He's clearly on a date. I have to go home. Like, I'm not feeling well. I really actually did not feel well. And I was like, listen, I have cramps. I'm not doing my hottest at this moment. It's like, okay, like, no worries. We can go home. And I was like, all right, cool. So I get home. And I'm feeling a little ballsy. The wine is kicking in at this time. And so I'm like, I'm going to leave a note on his door. My note said this: when your date doesn't go as planned, message me. And then I gave him my number and put it on his door handle. And I'm like actually freaking out at this point because I'm like, what if he brings her home and they see it? No, just so many things are going through my head. I'm like, what if he's not interested? Look, Gabs, it is what it is. I'm just going to play it off. If I see him again and he's not interested, I'm just gonna be like, oh, did you get my note? At that point, I'm like, nothing can really go too wrong. That night, I'm FaceTiming my friend, telling her what just transpired in my life, because honestly, this shit, I feel like only happens to me. Like, I have so many stories where weird shit like this happens. Message while I'm on FaceTime with my friend, and he's like, that was the smoothest thing that anyone's ever done. And I'm like, and immediately to my friend, I'm like, what if this is my husband? She's like, you haven't even talked to him for more than 2 seconds. Anyways, we have plans this weekend. So by the time this comes out, it'll have passed already. But I obviously can't give you an update on something that hasn't happened yet. So I will keep you posted next week on that. But I just wanted to get this off my chest. Anyways, really hoping he's not a fuckboy. But if he is, I'll be able to tell really quickly. Good news is that he didn't bring the girl home. So that's actually a green flag. Anyway, let's talk today, you guys, about fuckboys. I feel like I've ran into way too many F-boys in my day. And that was honestly, at one point, my type. Like, the toxicity I lived for. Like, it was fun. It was thrilling. It was exciting. The nice guys just seemed way too boring. And I think I just got to a point in my life where I'm like, this isn't sustainable. I'm getting fucking exhausted entertaining these people. I'm also getting hurt in the process, and that's obviously not very fun. I'm really honestly at the point in my life where I'm like, I can't. It gives me the ick when someone starts to have like F-boy behavior, but I can notice it so quickly now because I've seen them I've seen them from miles away. And honestly, I have said this before, I'll say it again. I think sometimes we do need to go through that phase in life just to like get it all out of our systems and to actually step into like appreciate the good guy that is actually going to treat you well. But here is my take on F-boys. F-boys are really just fragile men. Like, they have been hurt. And the thing is, hurt people hurt people. So since they've been hurt, they now try to cope with it in other ways, trying to get as much women as possible, trying to sleep with you as quickly as possible, trying to get the goods, trying to get whatever he wants. And then he's going to dip out until the next thing. The thing with F-boys is that they love the chase. And I think a lot of women will take that as in, I feel like if he likes me, then that will validate the fact that I'm a lovable person. What stopped me from attracting these F-boys in my life was healing that wound that I had deep within me, feeling like I wasn't lovable and feeling like I had to earn their love. I had to work and put in overtime to earn their love. And then once I got that, I would feel validated that I was a lovable person, when in actuality, I'm just lovable and I'm worthy of love, period. And love should not be this treacherous, like, up and down roller coaster of emotions and feelings and crying all the time and begging for someone to love. Like, it shouldn't be that fucking hard. And I crave my peace so much more nowadays. The second that someone shows me any types of signs that they are an F-boy, I can't. I will block you. I'll mute you. I'll unfollow you. I'll stop talking to you. I just can't do it anymore, because honestly, my future is depending on it, is what it comes down to. Is like, in actuality, I'm not going to waste my time anymore with these people trying to like fix them or trying to pour into them. It's a fun chase, right? Because you're thinking in your head, if I'm able to nail this guy down in a relationship or make him fall for me, that would mean that I was the girl who changed this man. And how validating is that? The pride and the ego that come along with trying to change a man and then being able to, you feel like you are on cloud nine because you were able to shape up a guy that really was not looking for anything serious. So it's the validation, it's the ego. Like, there's so much that goes into wanting an F-boy to like you, but I think sometimes genuinely people are not aware of how to spot F-boys, because it's tricky. They will sneak up on you. They know the talk. They are very smooth. They are very sociable, so they seem very charming and lovely and easy to get along with, easy to communicate with. They're smooth a lot of the times. And these are all qualities that, like, realistically are attractive. Actually, they're just a really cool person. End up liking them, and then slowly you want more of him, and you're like trying to get to the end, like, come on, you got it, let's work here. And then he like kind of switches gears a little bit. He'll pull back, he'll start showing his true colors. I thought that I was talking to this really cool guy. What happened? People will show their true colors eventually. It's just knowing how to spot them early on so you can change gears, because look, your feelings are on the line here. Do you want to end up in another hurt situation where you're months into a situationship with a guy that never had intentions for you in the beginning? I probably should have prefaced this in the beginning. My definition of an F-boy, because I think that so many people get this wrong. It's not, oh, like, he hooked up with you and now he realized like he didn't want anything serious with you after the hookup, or like, you know, one thing led to the next. It wasn't really the intentions, and then on to the next thing. Like, listen. Here's my actual definition of a fuckboy, is when guys intentionally will lure you in to get what they want out of you, and then just to go on to the next thing, and not being upfront about it. Because I think it's fine if you just want to like sleep around, if he just wants to sleep around, if he just wants to do his little thing, living it up era, fine, do your thing. But like, be upfront about that, because there's people out there that would want that from them. What's not okay is trying to act like, hey, yeah, no, I want a relationship. It's exactly what I'm looking for. And it's them lying to you just to get something out of you, with the intention of getting something out of you, and then pulling away when they get that thing. That it's misleading, it's gaslighting, it's the narcissism. I think at the end of the day, it's really about like what the guy's intentions are. Because if his intentions are truly, hey, I do want a relationship, and then like after a couple of dates he's like, maybe this isn't for me, not necessarily a fuckboy. Maybe he just doesn't know how to communicate, and that's not okay either. But he knows what he wants. He knows that he wants a relationship, or he knows that he wants to just hook up. And if he's transparent about that, things just don't work out, that's on you, because he told you up front directly, was honest with you about his intentions. So you can't expect him, if he's like, honestly, I'm not looking for anything serious, and then you continue to pursue it, and then months down the line you're like, well, he's a fuckboy because he played with me. Like, He was very upfront with you in the beginning, actually. And I appreciate those men because I know then where to put my time and where to not put my time. But sometimes it's not that cut and dry. Like, you have to be able to read through people. Once you get that skill down, dating becomes so much easier because you're not like, I don't know, is this guy really what he thinks he is really what he says he is? Is this guy actually a good guy? Is he trying to be a bad? Like, I don't fucking know. It's so hard nowadays. But here's the cut and dry. And I'll give you some signs to tell in the very beginning if he is an F-boy. For starters, is he being clear about what he wants? Is he saying he wants a relationship? Okay, cool. There's no reason to not believe him. But if he's saying he wants a relationship, but then treating you like just a hookup or just an option, notice that that's what's going on. Because I know a lot of guys out here that will say, oh yeah, I really want a relationship. I really want to get married. I really want to settle down. It's really that time for me. But then in the back of their heads, they're like, they're lying to themselves. They're lying to themselves saying that, or they're just lying to you because they know that that's what they have to do in order to get what they want. They want to tell you what you want to hear in order for it to benefit them. It's not fair. It's not cool, but there's other things that you have to play in their words and their actions and see where they're aligning, because if they're not aligning, if something is off, listen to that. If he's telling you he wants a relationship, but then he's going in and out of days without talking to you, weeks without talking to you, but then he's popping back up, listen, that man is not looking for a relationship, okay? He may say that he wants a relationship, but it's definitely not with you. The man that actually wants a relationship with you will be consistent over a period of time. And I'm not saying texting you all days, 24/7. No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's consistent in making plans and following up. He's consistent with what he says he's going to do. He actually does. He's consistent with, oh, hey, I'm going to call you at this time. He calls you at that time. He's consistent in, I'm making a plan. I'm following up with that plan. I'm going to do that plan with you. Not saying you guys have to talk all the time. Someone came at me the other day for this, and I'm like, that's not what I was saying. And I don't even think that's healthy, especially not in the very beginning. But is he moving the wheels forward, or does it kind of feel confusing and all over the place? Ask yourself that, and your gut deep down will know. And I think any F-boy, deep down we always know, because we feel that like offness about someone. We feel confused. We feel unsure. I've never in my mind had to question a man's intentions where I knew they were genuine. I've always felt safe and secure around these types of men. I never felt like, oh, I have to question whether or not he's like just trying to sleep with me. Not at all. It's always been in these situations. Knowing good men out there, they're very truthful, very honest, and very genuine and upfront about their intentions. And it's very clear, and you feel safe and know that inside. So if you're questioning, if you're confused, he's probably fucking confused too. So is he being consistent with his communication and his actions? Do they align? But if he's saying he doesn't want a relationship, or he's not clear about what he wants, if he's not clear, I'm not saying he's a fuckboy, but I'm also not saying he's not an F-boy. Thing is, with guys that like aren't clear and they know that you want a relationship, but they still continue to pursue, but they're kind of leading you on because you refuse to read between the lines, he's going to keep on getting what he wants out of it because he knows that he can. But it's up to you to decipher whether or not you feel like that's enough for you. And I've been in situations where I'm like, okay, he wasn't clear. I know moving forward that this is going nowhere, but it's up for me now to decide, is this good enough for me? Is this the type of person that I'm going to catch feelings for? Because if it is, I'm taking a full step away from this relationship because I know where this is going to lead, and I'm going to end up being hurt because you don't want anything. I do want something. If I can't handle my emotions in that dynamic, then we can't do anything. But if you can and you want to, by all means, entertain it. It is up to you to decipher whether or not these men are serious. Another thing that F-boys do is very sexual in the very beginning. If they're saying anything, oh, I was just kidding, I was just joking. Oh, like, what are you wearing to bed? Oh, like, your tits look really good. Any guy that compliments my body as the first thing on like a dating app or in person, whatever, if he compliments my body or he says anything in a sexual manner or that can lead to sex, you look so sexy in that picture. Honestly, any guy using the word sexy in the very beginning, I'm like, thank you, but like, no thank you. Also, learn your fucking boundaries. Say that I look gorgeous, say that I look beautiful, but sexy is a little, look, I know I look sexy, play it cool. The subtle differences and the way guys communicate will set them apart. Like, you can pick them apart so easily. Dates in, weeks in, are saying these things, fine, by all means, cute, whatever. But if it's like you don't really know this person and they're calling you sexy, or they love the way your body looks, or they're overly affectionate, if any man on the first couple of dates, without you initiating it first, is handsy with you, is touching you, is all over you, to me, that's such a fucking ick. Let me be the one to initiate contact with you. The more respectful the man is, he's not going to want to touch you at all. Like, he's going to be hands off because he doesn't even want to risk the fact of you thinking that he's a fuckboy, or he doesn't want to mess this up or make you have a bad impression of him. He's going about this in a very careful, intentional way. Whereas an F-boy doesn't care. He's going to push those boundaries. He's going to touch you. He's going to make it feel like you guys are much closer than you actually are. And to me now, it's so uncomfortable when guys touch me on a first date. I'm like, I didn't invite you to touch my body. But if I'm the one who initiates it, by all means, in an appropriate way, obviously, little hand things or like, you know, touching my leg, whatever. If that's too soon for you, have your boundaries and be like, hey, not comfortable with that. I was on a date once and I kind of stopped wearing like low. I mean, it wasn't even that low. It was just like my tits looked nice in the shirt. But I had a date where this guy was just staring at my tits the whole time. And I'm like, I called him out on it. I'm like, this is not cool. I'm not okay with this. And eventually he stopped. But I'm like, you're making me really uncomfortable, by the way. And you know, sometimes you have to call them out on their shit, or else they're going to keep making you uncomfortable. And maybe you don't even feel uncomfortable, but just know that the right men aren't going to do this. They're not going to be overly sexual. Another fuckboy move, inviting you over to his house early on. Okay, it's date number 2. It's date number 3. And he's like, oh, why don't we just go to my place? Plan a fucking date. How about that? No, because seriously, if they want to get you to the house as quickly as possible, the signs could not be clearer that he wants to fuck you. He wants to get you in bed as soon as possible. He wants to make a move. And the more that you can resist going to each other's houses. And I recently was talking to this guy and he's like, hey, I would love to make you dinner in your house. And I'm like, hey, I don't really feel comfortable with people coming over my house so early. I love the thought, but like definitely later down the line, we can make that happen. I prefer dates out. And he was like, oh, making me work for it. I actually really appreciate that. And I really like that. And I'm like, listen, nothing is more sexy than setting boundaries, because boundaries makes them work for it a little bit more. And when you don't have boundaries, they tend to respect you a lot less. Boundaries are sexy. Men love sexy. Tell me that's sexy, okay? Don't say that I look sexy, because immediately you're objectifying me, okay? I think with fuckboys is that they never take anything seriously. It's always like everything's a joke, everything's for funs. He's out with his boys all the time. He's going to the club all the time. Honestly, if he's going to the club all the time, if he's going out all the time, probably on his F-boy behavior. No good guy is like, oh, I need to meet my wife tonight. I'm going to go to the bar. No, he needs to give his hand a break, okay, and wants some. So he's going to go to the bar. Or he's just going to go out with his guys occasionally, and that's fine too. But if it's a consistent thing, guys, he's not in any place to settle down. And that's the same thing with girls. If they're going out all the time, honestly, I used to go out all the time. I'm like, well, like, I want to meet people. The guys that I want are not at the club. I can promise you that. Or they're not at the bar. Or they might be at the bar occasionally, whatever. But he's not going to the bar for every single day. That's just not my husband. My husband would absolutely never. I also love saying that. It's like, my husband would never. If a guy does something shitty, I'm like, yeah, my husband that I don't have would never. I say that all the time. Like, if a guy acts up, I'm like, me and my husband would fucking laugh at this fucking bozo. If they're overly social, overly charming and whatever, I'm not saying that these guys are always F-boys, but usually fuckboys are always super charming, super outgoing, super social. But that's what attracts a lot of people to them. They get all the girls because they're like, oh my God, like they're living life. They're taking things day by day. They're free. They're fun. They're good time. They're good to hang out with. But at the end of the day, those aren't the types of qualities that are gonna lead to a successful marriage. I'm not saying that a man like this a man that's charming and outgoing isn't gonna be a good husband by any means. I'm not saying that. I get that might be an attractive quality to have in someone, but at the end of the day, is that what's going to make you happy in a long-term relationship? Ask yourself that. Another big one. Okay, listen, another big one. And I will immediately block someone for this. I will unmatch someone for this. And it might sound like, I mean, that's like really extreme, but here's the thing. When they call you babe, baby, love is not like the worst thing in the world, but like, oh, babe, baby, babe, like in the very beginning, fucking fuck off. No. Immediately no. Because here's the thing. When they're that comfortable with you and they think they're smoother than butter, I can almost guarantee you are not the only love, baby, babe out there for them. If they are way too smooth, there are some red flags that come along with that. And I can almost guarantee you every single guy in the very beginning that has called me babe, baby has been a walking red flag. Every single one of them. The good guys will not do that in the very beginning. I can promise you that. So if a guy presses you, like pressures you into doing anything, like, oh, take the shot, like, why aren't you being such a pussy? Or like, if he's pressuring you into anything, or like, oh, like, I thought you were fun. I thought you were a good time. Why don't you want to come over? Like, saying any of these things, you guys, it cannot be clearer as day. He's a fuckboy, okay? I'm sorry. Like, no guy is going to disrespect. No good guy is going to disrespect your boundaries or make you feel uncomfortable or make you feel like you have to do anything that you don't want to. Immediately no. Also, if this is my side note, serious, but like also kind of serious. If they have right here on their neck, lips tattooed on their neck, immediately just block them. Bye. Goodbye. We are not doing that. We're not entertaining it. Every guy that I've ever seen that has some lips on his neck, he has some major issues and you need to stay away from him, okay? Unless you're down to get hurt. If you are, by all means, do your thing. Really, the whole reason why I made this episode is because I was watching The Perfect Match and I was watching Harry Jowsey and I'm like, are you fucking serious, Jess? Like, you are the queen here. You are the prize, babe. And he's so manipulative. He's so good at it. He deserves a fucking award for it because he's the type of guy that will make women feel bad for him for the actions that he did that were terrible. Like, he's the type of guy that will gaslight you and think that you're crazy and only give you half of the story because he knows that the other half is like the main part that she would be mad at. I'm like, oh my God, why? It's so easy to fall into this because you're like, he's selling me the dream. He's selling me the absolute dream of everything that I want. Everything I want my man to show up for. He was saying things like, I love you. So super early on. If he's so fucking early on to say I love you, immediate red flag. Saying like, oh, like, I want to be the dad to your daughter. And like painting the picture of everything she wants to hear, everything that she's ever been looking for. He plays into her insecurities and paints the perfect picture of her perfect man, and he knows exactly how to play his cards. I'm sorry, I used to entertain these type of men, and I'm like, it's so easy to like them. It is so easy to fall into the trap because, and I mean, he gets women. He tricks them into liking him because they're like, oh, like maybe he's changed. Maybe I should give him the benefit of the doubt. He's saying that he wants kids. He's saying that he wants to be a dad. He's saying that he wants commitment. If he is trying to sell you the dream, give yourself the time, save yourself the trouble. It is not worth it because you are going to leave yourself heartbroken. But that is it for this week's episode. I've gone on way too long at this point. But if you could, again, please leave a rating 5 stars or a thumbs up. I will see you all next Tuesday.